In a landmark decision last week, the Gauteng High Court in Johannesburg, South Africa, upheld the right of all pregnant and lactating women and children under 6, irrespective of nationality and documentation status, to access free health service at all public health establishments, including hospitals. The court ordered that Gauteng regulations and a policy introduced by the Gauteng Department of Health in 2020 that denies free health care services to these individuals are declared unlawful. The Gauteng Department of Health was ordered to amend its policy by October 16, 2023. It is important to note, however, that the country's constitution already had a progressive and long-standing national legislative position that all pregnant and lactating women and children under 6, irrespective of their status, get access to health. So, there are questions as to why the ruling was needed and is not only needed, is being celebrated. Why are analysts who are celebrating the ruling as a humanitarian triumph on the one hand are also saying that it is politically dangerous? For some perspective, Dr. Anthony Kaziboni, head of Research Institute for Future of Knowledge, University of Johannesburg, South Africa, joins us now. Thank you very much for giving us your time. We understand the country's constitution already covers this subject. So I will ask the question for those that are not aware. Why was the ruling necessary? Explain it really in layman terms, please.
Thank you for having me, Felicity. So in short, on the 14th of April this year, the High Court in Gauteng confirmed the rights of all pregnant and lactating women and children under the age of 6 to access healthcare services free at all public institutions. And this was in light of a case that was tabled to the High Court by Section 27, which is an NGO that fights for the equality and social justice for all citizens and people in the country. And this together they did with 3 other immigrants who had been discriminated against, who couldn't have access to healthcare. So what this means is that the Section 27 and these 3 individuals won this case against the Gauteng and National Healthcare Departments. And it is a milestone in the sense that it affords everyone, documented or not, migrant or not, the right to healthcare. And this is particularly in light of the situation experienced by pregnant and lactating women, as well as children under the age of 6. So, again, if you understand and you are aware of South Africa, there are spaces of xenophobic incidents that have erupted. We have classical scapegoating by government officials, as well as people in key positions in politics who somewhat tend to blame immigrants for the healthcare crisis in the country. However, what this ruling does is it affirms the right of access to healthcare to a particularly vulnerable group in the country.
What are the main challenges that the government needs to address to ensure that this court ruling is effectively implemented? Because we know on the one hand that there are 2 orders for publicity of the court ruling. We also know that the Constitution already takes care of this. So how will we ensure compliance?
So just to carry on from the comment you raised before regarding the political nature of this, we are headed towards the presidential elections next year, and it's going to be an interesting landscape. And we've noted in the past that towards elections, narrow nationalistic parties and politicians come up with all sorts of ideas around how the securitization of the border, access to public facilities should be implemented in light of a belief that there is a flood or there are hordes of immigrants flocking into the country. So in light of this judgment, the court also indicated that there would be 2 orders in place. The first one which would by which the National Health Department would need to put together a circular that clearly articulates that pregnant women, as well as lactating women, and children under the age of 6 who are not beneficiaries of any medical health scheme should be allowed to access these facilities. And the deadline implemented was 15 May. And on 17 July will be another deadline, which is to direct the preparation and display of posters in these health facilities across all provinces to ensure that not only staff but the users of these facilities are aware. So the crisis we have also stems from the fact that the exclusion of immigrants should not be done and should be understood as a right for them, that they should access these services. And beyond putting up posters, there should be other measures through which the public should be made aware of this ruling. And the healthcare crisis in the country needs to be understood at a deeper level. Corruption is not unique to South Africa. Corruption is a phenomenon that we experience in a number of countries. So the healthcare sector has also been affected by corruption, and the classical scapegoating of immigrants becomes one way in which the immigrants are targeted. And we need to find ways of managing money better, and we need to start also appreciating the kind of era we are in and the technological advancements that are there. How can we employ technology in order to ensure that corruption and financial mismanagement...
This is at the heart. Corruption and funding is at the heart of the concerns that are being raised. When we hear analysts say that although the ruling is a triumph for humanitarian efforts, but to quote some comments, part of it, they also say it's politically dangerous and stoke already explosive levels of xenophobic populism. So how best can we make sure it doesn't escalate to this level? How do we address that fundamental problem of corruption and funding in order to make sure that what we need for the people to access these health facilities is available?
So there's what you can do at the hospital, and there's avenues that you should also implement, around media. At the hospital, securitization and ensuring that staff that work at the hospital are aware, and as indicated, these immigrants that don't have access to these facilities, who have been discriminated against, are marginalized groups. It's ensuring that NGOs that work with them and spaces that they occupy, they are informed adequately of the new provisions. And xenophobia is an issue, and healthcare is one area in which it manifests, and it manifests through what you indicated, medical xenophobia, where immigrants are discriminated against. And in order to mitigate immigrants discrimination within these races, it therefore becomes important that areas where they're scapegoated, they're vindicated. It becomes clear that it's a bit more complicated than the presence of migrant women who access these facilities. There are more systemic issues. It's not only corruption, Felicity. There are also issues around staffing issues. If you look at South Africa, the number of doctors that are there and nurses, it's by far short of what's needed. COSATU, the Congress of South African Trade Unions, and some of its affiliates note that workers in these industries are they're struggling. They can't cope with the working hours and the demands of the worker alone. So
in the interest of time, I need to butt in and ask you, because the idea to have conversation like this is to see how we can, move the needle a little further in the right position. So talking of staffing, I was actually going to ask you to speak extensively on the challenge of staffing, because one thing is to have great court ruling and great laws, but you need the staff strength to pull it off. So what, in your opinion, can be done to address the issue of understaffing in the health facilities across South Africa?
Thank you very much. So regarding staffing issues, first and foremost is to try and retain the current staff that you have. And that's by improving their working conditions and their working terms. Secondly, it would be looking at tertiary and higher education institutions that are there, and also ensuring that deserving students that are studying disciplines related to health get through. So it's about building capacity, growing the timber that you have. And what is impressive also is that the Department of Home Affairs recently updated its critical skills list, a list through which they note professions that are in dire need and that the country is in dire need of. And healthcare is one, and there are a number of healthcare professions that were listed. So by bringing in and attracting foreigners into the country, there is room for us to better the
welfare,
the sector.
All right. What would be your, if you were to advise on ensuring that women and children reap the benefit of this court order in the immediate time, in 30 seconds, if you can, we're out of time. What would you advise the government to do?
So it's to ensure that the two court orders that have been put down by the High Court are effectively implemented, and we ensure that staff in the hospitals are aware of the rights of immigrants, and also immigrants that have been shunned to find ways of communicating to them that they can access these public healthcare facilities. And I think just a closing comment is that medical xenophobia is real and it needs to be addressed. We cannot restrict the access to healthcare by immigrants, and particularly these pregnant women, lactating women, and children under the age of 6. Thank you.
All right, I'm afraid we have to leave it there. Thank you very much, Dr. Anthony Kaziboni, for spending time and talking to us on this subject.